Dental Fuel, the podcast that focuses on what no one else is talking about: mistakes. The dental world is full of before and afters, and no one is talking about the middle. Dental Fuel brings you the unspoken in between. Welcome back to another episode of Dental Fuel. Dental Fuel is brought to you by 90 Day Jumpstart, a program to help you increase production and break free from financial stress. Running a successful dental practice is challenging. Running a failing dental practice also comes with its challenges. Dr. Mark Hyman continues to reflect back on his dental journey and shares how he purchased a failing practice and transformed it into a flourishing enterprise. Dr. Hyman couldn't do it alone, and he shares the importance of team loyalty and retention. Let's listen in. Mark, I want to take you back to what you were sharing where, you took a practice from bankruptcy to worse than bankruptcy and rebuilding that. And I'm assuming that you brought a philosophy and a style of practice that was unique to your practice, but also building a team was probably very prevalent in that process. I would love to know if you made any mistakes in building that team during that time, or even after that time, any team mistakes that you've made.
See, I'm one of the world's experts on team building because I failed so badly early on. So I bought the practice July 1st, 1986. The receptionist was a former doctor's wife's best friend, and she wrote me this beautiful note. I showed in the seminar. "Dear sir, I quit." It was dated July 10th. She changed it to August 8th, so she stayed about 5 weeks and she quit. The hygienist was the most oppositional, chain-smoking, rudest woman I ever met, and I fired her. So now I got one employee left. Don't you just love it when that happened? And then I heard Linda Miles speak. And I went through, the one teammate that stayed was my first dental assistant, Susan. She only stayed with me 8.5 years. The fill-in hygienist I hired said, "I'll give you 2 weeks." She stayed 14.5 years with me. And the first receptionist I hired stayed with me 5 years before she had a baby and moved back to California. So that was my first dream team. We could have a team meeting in my car, and I love that. Probably the biggest mistake I ever made was not trusting the team. So early on, I'm the doctor and I know better, right? Here's a shocker. I'm a massive UNC Tar Heel fan. Love my Carolina Tar Heels. Their legendary coach for 36 years was Dean Smith, who in his day was the winningest college basketball coach of all time. Okay? Coached Michael Jordan, blah, blah, blah. Won an Olympic gold medal, 2 national championships. Was a better person than he was a coach, and he was the greatest college basketball coach. And I had a prospective receptionist come in, sat down. First thing she said is, "I think Dean Smith is God." I said, "Well, I do too. You're hired." She was the worst person I ever hired. It was absolutely horrible. So I instituted a policy after making some really bad hires that I would I would screen the resumes, and we'd have somebody come in and do a working interview where they wouldn't work. They would just watch and listen to how we talk to people. I had a temporary hygienist in once who came to get me for the hygiene check and said, "Well, I fussed at him really good." I said, "You fussed at my patient? You're so fired. Get out of here. We don't yell at people here."
Right.
So now I would have prospective teammates come in, spend a day with us. We'd block 2 hours for lunch, and I'd give my teammates the charge card to take them out to lunch. And at the end of the day, I'll say, "I'll get back to you," and I'll turn to the team and say, "What do you think?" And they'd give me thumbs up or down. Dr. Tanya Sue, the times I got bit in the butt is when I just went, "You have a pulse, you're hired. Man, the schedule's busy and I need an assistant, so jump in and let's start dancing." Every time I did that, it was the wrong decision. So I ended up, my receptionist, my Mary Catherine, only stayed with me almost 25 years. My lead dental assistant, Athena Escovedo Calloway, stayed with me almost 20 years. 3 of my hygienists, 15 years, another one, 14 and a half. They gave me such love and loyalty. It was really unbelievable. But I think, again, I had to fail first before I moved forward. I had to try it, screw it up, and go, clearly that ain't the road. So let me figure what I can do better. So that would be my message to the young doctors is invest heavily in training. Take the time to hire carefully. If you've hired a turkey, fire quickly. because the team is watching you, young doctors. You're always on the stage. The teammates are watching you. And I almost lost and briefly did lose my almost 20-year dental assistant because she was so incensed how I let a certain teammate treat me. This was a single mom. My mother was a single mom with 3 kids. I know what that game is like. And I let this woman walk all over me and take advantage of me to the point that my number one dental assistant said, I quit. I can't stand this. And she was gone about 6 weeks and came back. So I was very grateful for that.
Wow.
So you can always get another patient. You can't always get another teammate. When you get the team, lovingly, my wife used to say, will you pay them too much? And my answer is, compared to what? They stay. They know the systems. They know the verbal skills. They know the patients. They know their history, what they like, what they don't like, what size isolate do they like? Do they want to see pictures or not? Are they hard or easy to numb? What's their story? So that was invaluable. So I had that season, Dr. Tanya Sue, with the dream team where we went almost 15 years with essentially no turnover. And we just crushed it. And I just felt like I went from room to room telling jokes and the teammates would go boom, boom, boom. Let me ask you a question, Dr. TS.
Please do. Yeah.
How many sick days would you guess that those women called in just sick, didn't come in? How often do you think that happened?
Probably only a handful.
Because you don't do that to your family. You do that when you have a job, maybe, not when you have a family, a commitment, a passion. So I tried to spoil my team rotten. We had a masseuse that came in every Wednesday at lunchtime to do head and neck back massage. Whenever somebody had a birthday, I took the entire team out for their birthday lunch. I started the practice July 1st, so every July 1st I bought a rose for each teammate for the number of years they'd been with me. Mary Catherine got expensive, like 25 roses. We had a Hanukkah Christmas party every December to beat the band. I'd have the team over to my house. My wife would have a wine and cheese cocktail party for them. Then we'd pick them up in a limousine, drive to the local shopping center. I'd give out gift certificates. They had 1 hour to spend the money or I got the money back. In 32 years, you know how much money I got back?
None.
Nothing. I couldn't figure out how they spent so much so fast. Then they got outed. They do layaway.
Oh,
but I got such
brilliant.
a joy watching them running from store to store, grabbing stuff and jumping in the limousine with a handful of packages and laughing and hugging each other and high-fiving. And then we'd go to a 5-star dinner or a Broadway show. And I'd say that in seminars. I have people saying, no, Mark, how much did that cost you? And the answer is, it's priceless, man. What do you think they talk to the patients about the next 3 months? 3 months before the Hanukkah Christmas party, what do you think they talked about? We had an office dream trip every year where we would work like 2 half days. Everything we made those days went into the kitty. So I took the team to Myrtle Beach, South Carolina, to Orlando, Florida, to Disney, to the Hyman in Atlanta, Georgia. Took them to the ADA in Las Vegas and San Francisco. Every year we did a dream trip. I also fully funded their 401k, the retirement plan. I insisted, Dr. Tanya Sue, that they trust me. And I said, if you will trust me, I'm going to secure your future. And I had a handful of teammates say, all I know is what's in my bank account. All I know is what's in my checking account. I'm like, I get it, man. Except when I left private practice, I think I had 7 or 9 teammates that had 6-figure retirement accounts. I was very proud of that. You could say, well, look at all that money you could have kept yourself versus look at these women I took care of. Look at these relationships that I formed. Look at the love and loyalty I got. And that let us practice at a level that was so far beyond anything that I would have ever dreamed of.
What a way to show value in your team and to build your team. I can only imagine that the morale of the team overall in their day-to-day efforts was probably very, very high because of how much value you instilled in them.
It was unbelievable, and it wasn't perfect. Let's get real here. Everybody has a bad day. The team would like to quote Dr. H when I would get my nose a little bent out of shape. I was in the middle of a really hard procedure, and it wasn't going well. And one of my receptionists was kind of tapping me on the shoulder. what do you want for lunch? And I'm working and tap, tap, tap. What do you want for lunch? I'm like, third time she tapped me, I just turned and said, solve the problem, and turned back around and kept drilling. And so solve the problem became a joke for about the next 5 years. Whenever they wanted to tweak me, they'd go, solve the problem. I'm like,
That's great. It's always fun to have that family atmosphere with your team. It just makes the day so much better.
I tried, man. I didn't always get it right. It wasn't because I didn't try.
We all try.
Yeah.
I have gained so many insights from Dr. Mark Hyman, and I hope you have too. Join us next week where Dr. Hyman shares some expert advice. If you're looking to grow your practice and need some help along the way, be sure to check out 90 Day Jumpstart. You can start for free by contacting Dr. David Rice. Check out the link to his Calendly in the show notes.